Hello there guys. In this video I'm going to be looking in this package that has just arrived from the Ukraine. I believe this is from Spalah Models, although I haven't opened it up yet so I don't know. It's going to be a really short video if it's not. They asked me recently if I'd be interested in trying out some of their products, and I said yes, so they've sent me a selection of what they produce. They do 3D printed models in a variety of scales from 1/16th to 1/35th to 1/72nd, and they have modern military figures, they have diorama accessories, and they do quite a lot to do with the Stalker universe, which is a kind of post-apocalyptic video game. So let's see what they've sent me. Okay, and the first thing I see there as I open the box is a kind of a monster, a Pseudo Giant from the universe of the Stalker games I mentioned. That looks pretty cool, if I can get it out. We'll take a look at each of the boxes and then I will look at them in more detail. So the second box here is an armor suit exoskeleton. Okay, so a human figure, human soldier, again from the Stalker universe. We've got a Ukrainian military patch here, which future me tells me is the insignia of the 100th Mechanized Brigade of Ukraine. So that's pretty cool. We've got a coin here, which I need to look up later. And you can see we've got some World War II accessories here. We've got a MG34 pack and a set of buckets. Well, they're not World War II, they could be any 1/35th scale diorama, couldn't they? And then a couple of business cards. I will of course put contact details and web addresses in the description below. And then where you can see the rest of the items there, we've got some monsters there, some Mutant Cats on the left hand side, a World War II Maxim Machine Gun, a scientist figure here who looks like he's sort of monitoring something on a kind of futuristic screen, a couple more sort of zombie monster kind of figures, and then two very similar but slightly different human resting figures, one sitting on a box of some sort and one sitting on a stack of tyres. Very cool. Right, let's have a look inside these boxes and get a bit of a closer look. So we'll start with this. This is the World War I, World War II era Maxim Machine Gun. If we pop it open, we've got some instructions on the top. This model, I believe, was made in the 1880s. Does it tell us there? Yeah, there it does. Design created in 1884. But I know it was used in World War I and World War II. We can see a list there of 8 parts. And then some simple construction diagrams on the other side. I know exactly where this is going to go. We'll paint this up and then it can go on the front of the amphibious jeep, the Seep, that I built recently in Soviet colours. You might remember that one. And in fact, when I built that, I said there were a couple of reference photos that had these guns, or very similar guns, on the front of them. So that will be perfect. If we look inside the box, this particular model is quite hard to see because it's still got all the 3D printing supports in there, and it's got this protective cage around the outside as well. I'm not going to remove those right now because I don't want to lose the parts before I actually use it. But we can see they're super well packaged in terms of the protection, and certainly there's no parts loose or rattling around or anything like that. Let's take a look in another box and see if we can see something else in a bit more detail. Okay, so this is the MG34 with bipod, so World War II German machine gun. Not suitable for children aged 0 to 3. And there we go, although that's in a protective case as well, we can see quite clearly there we've got two MG34s there in fact, with the main gun piece along the long sides, and then we've got the magazines at the end and the bipods in the centre. Very cool. And even though it's in the protective case here still, you can still see the really fine detail, for example the holes on the barrel there. Moving on, here we have our Mutant Pseudo Giant from the Stalker games. Again, 1/35th scale. And this guy doesn't have any supports or any protective cage around him, so that will give us a chance to look a bit more closely at him. Of course, I can't really judge the realism of the model, but the detail looks pretty solid. I'm looking, for example, at the teeth there. They look nice and sharp and well detailed. It's going to be fun to paint something like this in a kind of mixture of sort of flesh and rotten flesh and blood kind of colours. Very interesting. And a nice quality print there. Certainly no layer lines visible, and this is with my macro lens as well. No layer lines that I can see there either in real life or in the video. And a quick painting guide there, but of course it's sci-fi. You can paint it how you like, really. Moving on to something more human, and we have this lovely resting Stalker figure here. Remember, I've got two of these. This one's on the box, the other one is very similar but on a set of tyres. All of the models have been really well packaged with this sponge to protect them. This guy again is in a cage. I think what I'm going to do is cut off the front of this cage to give you a better view of the model. So I will be right back. There we go, that's better. And if my camera would focus, which hopefully it is doing now, we can get a better view of the detail here on the model. Everything from the folds and the clothing, to the individual fingers, to the detail on the respirator gas mask there. Even the soles of the shoes, the boots, have the tread pattern. Very cool. Next up we have the Mutant Snark. This one needs to be cut open. What are you waiting for? Open it quickly. And if we can get that open again. Aha, this is another one that's a bit easier to see because it hasn't got that cage around it. So we've got the 3D printing supports on there, of course, still. Very cool. That's going to be a really interesting paint job there. We've got the obviously the clothes that originally were on the figure, but they're all sort of torn, and that sort of rotten flesh is visible through it. We've even got the spinal cord there visible on the back. I can imagine having a lot of fun painting and weathering this. Great detail there, still wearing the respirator, of course, that sort of iconic sort of Soviet style design. And then moving on again, we've got some Mutant Cat Bayon here. Not quite sure what they are. 3 figures, or 3 animals, should I say. It looks like the centre one is kind of resting or sleeping. The one on the right there looks like he's sort of prowling, and the one on the left looks like he's ready to pounce. That's pretty cool. I do like that. The more of these boxes I open, the more of an idea I have of how I'm going to use these mutants, but I won't tell you anything about that just yet. Next up we have the human soldier with exoskeleton, and a painting guide there, just in case you're stuck for inspiration. Again, I'm going to cut the front of this cage off here so you can get a better view of the figure. There we go, that's a bit better. You can now see the detail on the exoskeleton, especially around the shoulders and so on. You'll notice here that it doesn't have any hands. That's because they are printed separately there, and they're in the bottom right as you look at it of the frame. So there we go, guys. That was a quick look at these models from Spalah Models. I do encourage you to check out their website because there's a lot more than they sent me here in all kinds of areas. So there may well be something that interests you there. The link is in the description below. I've got a couple of ideas of how I want to use these figures. It's quite hard to do sort of like almost like battle scenes, isn't it, where you've got like monsters and humans fighting and so on. But I've got a really, what I think is quite an interesting idea for the monsters, the zombies, which I'll show you later, I'll talk to you about later. In terms of the figures, for a while now I've wanted to do a kind of abandoned, derelict, post-apocalyptic kind of scene. A bit like the zombie scene I did a long time ago, but a bit more detailed. And I think one of those resting figures will work really well for that. The scientist figure with a sort of the monitoring screen, I could go very simple there and just make like a sort of a green radioactive lake and have him standing next to it or something like that. That's one option, but I might also use him in a different way as well. We'll see. Anyway, I've got lots of ideas, so hopefully with me getting through a lot of past projects recently, I'll be able to start something with one of these fairly soon. And of course, as I mentioned, the Maxim is going to go in the seep that I built previously. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. I would like to say thank you very much to Spalah Models for sending me these kits. I hope to see you again in a future video, and until then, thanks for watching and have fun modelling.